Welcome back to My Life Matters Grief and PTSD Forum. Remember, no matter where you are in life, your life matters to God and to us. In this session, we'll talk about what grief looks like in our lives. How does it show up? Maybe you're sleeping a lot. Maybe you're not sleeping at all. Maybe you're a little short-tempered, or maybe your memory is not as good as you normally know it to be. We'll talk about how grief looks and how to recognize it sometimes. Give yourself some grace. We hope that this will open some things up for you. We hope that it will give you a little rest as you see that maybe you're thinking, something's going on. No, it might just be grief. As always, after this session, feel free to leave us your comments. God bless. What does grief look like? How does it, one of the misconceptions I think is that if I'm grieving, I'm crying. What does it look like? How do I recognize it? Or how might it show up?
I think for me I knew grief was present because I could feel it. I don't know if I'm just a touchy-feely kind of person, but one way that grief manifested in my life was like this pressure across my chest that just kind of wouldn't go away, and I had to fight it to get out of the bed in the morning. I had to fight it to go to work. It might be there all throughout the day that I'm at work, but I have to function. And so I even went to the doctor like, okay, what is this like pressure that I am feeling across my chest? Like, am I dying? Like what is this? And then what are we gonna do? Because I can't like just live with this forever. And so grief may look like stress. It may look like or feel like anxiety. It may look or feel like anger. For me, I was more sensitive, and so I was stronger in the sense where things don't necessarily rattle me, but I couldn't take being in an argument or like just having a lot of stress and trauma. I would have to just like, okay, I cannot deal with this because I'm like super, super sensitive. And then it could look or feel like depression. I had never really experienced depression, so I had to go and ask my doctor like, so I'm feeling sad. Sometimes I don't want to get out of the bed, but I have like this strong like willpower, like something down on the inside of me that's like, no, we not finna die. You getting out this bed and we gonna keep moving. Like if we gotta just go sit at Starbucks or you gonna go to work and you gonna be with children. Like something inside of me, there was a wrestling that I was like, I refuse to be depressed. But was I experiencing some depression? Probably so. So I think grief is grief trauma? Yes, it is a trauma. And so I was able to now, in my role as a counselor, kind of better understand what some of the things that my children have been through, because this was probably the most significant trauma that I had ever experienced. And so I'm struggling to come to work, and we're asking these babies to come to work, to come to school and sit down and like behave themselves. And they've probably been through more traumas than I could probably even still understand or even imagine. And so then how does that change like my work and what I do and how I understand and be with children when I'm trying to help them?
Also, grief, you can look at it from what it looks like. Also, she talked about how it feels, is that sometimes you can be very numb. And you're numb, you're numb to the point, you're numb to the point that you're not aware of what's going on around you. And you're just moving, it's like you're moving in a fog. You just like, I'm just moving through my day. I really don't recognize what's really going on. I'm just moving around, just going through the motions. And like she mentioned also is that sensitivity to any kind of stressors, and you'll find yourself blowing up on people and somebody say something to you, you blow up, you're like, what happened? And you don't realize why you're so sensitive, or you can't take the tension, the pressure from somebody even speaking to you the wrong way. And so sometimes in social service or just working with the public, and you find those people just blowing up for no reason at all, the smallest little bitty thing, It's often because they're dealing with some trauma, or maybe some PTSD, maybe some grief, and they've been stuffing these emotions. And so they just blow up. You just become the outlet. And you may not even realize why that happened. And so sometimes it looks like, in a sense, that you cannot actually function. You know, you just going through the motions, really cannot function.
I was going to add something really quickly to that, is that a lot of people experience those types of effects of grief, but the flip side to that is busyness, right? So somebody who's experienced grief and now they're on like 10 boards, they like babysit kids now, like they're volunteering at the shelter, and you're like, wow, he's getting it. But sometimes we busy ourselves so we don't have to think about the pain that we experience. And so sometimes if you find yourself in a situation where it's like, I'm just super busy, but when I come home and the room stops and it's dark and I sit on the side of my bed and I don't like the feeling that comes over me at that moment, and then I get up and schedule my next appointment so I can get out the house, then that may be another indicator that you're experiencing some grief because you just want to stay busy. And sometimes we can be so busy doing nothing, right, that we miss the impact that grief is having on our lives, and it's definitely something that needed to be addressed.
I've also heard people say sometimes you may sleep more, sometimes you may sleep less. Sometimes you may eat more. Sometimes you may eat less. Sometimes you may find you don't want to listen to what you used to listen to. Certain songs or certain programs you don't want to do, and you don't even know why. You have this avoidance. I think what I'd like to throw out with all of this is that I think I'm looking at your heads out here and you're going like this, and I'm going to kick it out in case you guys want to have some comments. But I think what one of my heart's desires is that we know that this isn't unusual. Our bodies are not necessarily programmed to deal with this kind of grief. Grief means I lost something important to me. So when it happens, there are responses all over the spectrum, but it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you, that you're grieving. It would be strange to lose your mother and not grieve if you have a close relationship. It would be strange, right? So it's not unusual, and I wanted to make sure that we shared that. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you'd like to connect with us, you can do so at ChristyMinger.com, or you can catch us across social media at the addresses listed below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. God bless and have a wonderful day.